I know you're really not that big of a wrestling fan anymore, but try to recapture some of that passion and you know, when you used to be when you wanted to become a wrestler and things of that nature.
When I wanted to become a wrestler?
Yeah.
How long ago was that? When I wanted to become a wrestler? It was, you know, a couple years ago now. I've graduated from college, and honestly, I don't want to be a wrestler anymore. My passion is gone. And I asked myself, well, why is my passion gone? You know, I used to lift weights. I used to have 12 egg whites before I went to sleep. I used to wake up and have salmon. You know, I read Jericho's book, and he talked about the wrestler diet. He talked about what you need to eat, you know, to build muscle so you can one day be a big guy and become a wrestler. But you know what? I lost my passion. I watched the WWE. I saw big, jacked up guys come from the WWE Developmental League, go in and just do clotheslines, arm drags, back bumps, and I was like, I don't know what I'm watching for anymore. So Shawn Michaels can have a 5-star match at the next WrestleMania? That's really the only reason why I would watch. So that's one of the reasons why I lost my passion. So now here I am, I'm a graduate student, and I'm focusing on my education, because really that's the only thing that's ever really worked for me. Sports never really worked. Professional wrestling was always a dream, and it was a nice dream, and I really enjoyed dreaming it. But now I'm being a little more realistic.
All right, so some of the big news that is relevant right now is that Hulk Hogan signed with TNA, which is kind of weird because it looks like TNA is going back to, you know, the AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, and Nigel's there, feuding with Kurt Angle. Things look really good, but now Hogan's there now. He's being brought in. What do you think of that? It's kind of confusing, right?
Every time I turn on professional wrestling, whether it be WWE or TNA, I'm seeing the same old guys doing, you know, the same stuff. So, you know, honestly, I really don't want to have anything to do with Hulk Hogan. I don't want to, as a viewer, I don't want to see Hulk Hogan anymore. I'm sick of it. It bores the crap out of me. It's the same stuff over and over again. I almost feel like in professional wrestling there were like 2 or 3 different eras where, you know, good shit happened, and since then they just keep on bringing it back to make more money. It's never about, okay, here's our new Hulk Hogan, okay, here's our new guy. It's never about that anymore. And, you know, we don't want to see a new Hulk Hogan. We don't want to see a new Rock. We don't want to see any of that stuff. When Hulk Hogan comes back to TNA, it's like, it just bores the crap out of me. I'm not a wrestling fan anymore, but I was a huge wrestling fan, and I respect professional wrestling. I respect what those guys do, because I really do see it as an art, as Bret Hart has talked about. You know, Hulk Hogan coming back, it's just like, you know what, we know he needs the money, and we know it's not going to feel real. You know, it's not going to, we're not going to see that passion that Hulk Hogan may have had back in the late 80s and early 90s. Some people might even say he didn't have passion back then either. I'm sure he did. But he doesn't really have the passion anymore, if you ask me. He comes down, you know he's there for the money. You know, the fans will go crazy, and everybody's going to love it. And that, fine, whatever. But, you know, for me, for this wrestling fan, former wrestling fan, I don't see the point of seeing Hulk Hogan in the
what will his role with the company be? What do you think? Will he just be a behind-the-scenes guy, or will he actually wrestle from time to time?
He's probably going to wrestle from time to time. They're probably going to try and set up something with Hulk Hogan and Sting together, you know, in a big main event match. I think that would be huge. And I think it's probably going to draw some people from the WWE who don't normally watch TNA over there. I'm sure they're going to start watching more. Right. But, you know, it's not going to do anything for them, for their younger guys. It's not going to do a whole lot.
Well, if the younger guys steal the show on the undercard, that will definitely benefit them, though, right? Like, say, AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels put on a 5-star match right before the Hogan match. That'd be great for both of them.
Yeah, but Hogan could follow anything, because the crowd just always goes crazy for Hogan. You know, I mean, sure, you know, if they put on a 5-star match, it'll mean a lot, you know, to you and me and, you know, other, you know, wrestling fans who, you know, are worried about the young guys. But I still don't see how they're not going to be able to get out of a shadow that's as big as Hogan's. he casts a pretty big shadow over whatever company he goes into,
right.
because, you know, just the way he is. And on top of that, you know, he likes to politic, and he likes to, you know, tell the guys in the office, you know, push this guy, push that guy. So it's like, you know, he has a huge influence wherever he goes. So,
so what do you think of Nigel and TNA so far? I mean,
well, I've only seen one match. I love Nigel McGuinness. You know, I love his wrestling style. I love the chain wrestling. You know, you could tell, you know, it's similar to like William Regal's style, only with more of a badass edge. You know, he's awesome. He's great. That's all I can say.
All right. Now, what were your thoughts on Ring of Honor when you did see the shows live and when you saw some of the DVDs? Like, what? Sum up your thoughts in a couple words of what you think about the Ring of Honor product.
It was a lot of fun. The fans are a lot of fun because, you know, all the chanting, you know, they really, the crowd really gets into it more than any other event I've ever been to. And the wrestling is quality wrestling. It definitely is quality wrestling. Not everything's great. Some of it was, you know, terrible. But, you know, what was good was great. You know, Nigel McGuinness, Bryan Danielson, Austin Aries, Claudio Castagnoli, you know, he had a heel turn at one of the Manhattan shows that I went to. Awesome. I wanted to kill him when he did what he did because I wanted Bryan Danielson to win so badly. You know, I really got into it. But, you know, I don't want people out there to think that I think that independent things like Ring of Honor is perfect, because it definitely isn't. But there are just, you know, just some great things about it that you're not seeing in WWE or TNA, you know. So, and
talk about the production values.
The production values are, they've actually obviously been a lot better, but, you know, we've seen some, you know, obviously you can't always hear what the guy's saying on the mic in Ring of Honor. You know, you can't always see what's going on in some of the older episodes, some of the older shows. So, you know.
Now, like a lot of people feel like they're not passionate about the mainstream wrestling scene, but there are a lot of people like myself and some others that are really still passionate about the independent wrestling scene, like Ring of Honor, PWG, and Dragon Gate put on the pay-per-view of the year. So,
really?
do you think the independent scene could ever explode and reach the mainstream level eventually? Do you think the wrestling business can evolve to that, you know, independent wrestling style eventually?
That's really up to the fans and what the fans want. You know, WWE, I think, is always going to be the big dog on top, you know, just because of their name. That would be a thing where Vince would have to say, all right, we're going to change the way things are going. And they're going to take what's going on in the independent, you know, level, and we're going to bring it into the mainstream level. I think the independent would have to cross over. I don't think independent's going to just become the biggest, you know, thing there is, because at the end of the day, it's about money and it's about the name that they have. So, yeah.
But as these independent wrestling companies start to make more and more money, they will eventually become. The production values will get a lot better, and then eventually they might get television deals, and then that style will eventually catch on. Will that ever happen? Maybe in 15, 20 years from now? Will we see a match like Davey Richards and Kenta drawing a lot of money?
I have a hard time seeing it happen just because of their style of wrestling. I have a hard time seeing the mainstream public embrace that type of wrestling nowadays. You know, I talked about Shawn Michaels earlier. Like, Shawn Michaels is the type of guy who can go out there and have a great match, you know, with the technical, with you know, just a great up and down match. But honestly, I just don't see that style of wrestling becoming, you know, the biggest thing there is, the biggest show on the block. And as long as, you know Vince McMahon's, you know, regurgitated main events, you know, keep drawing money, he's going to keep on doing the same thing. I wish the independents would be, you know, bigger and better, more televised, but I just don't see that happening.